New names and new clubs joined USL2. MLS Cup final sets all sorts of viewership records, and are FIFA actually trying to make tickets affordable for the World Cup? That and more on Wednesday's edition of Morning Kickaround. Hello and welcome to the show. You found your way to Morning Kickaround, the show where we dot the map of the American soccer landscape. Your hosts here with you, experiencing very different environments. From the frozen north, I'm Robert Kerr, your local soccer guy. And from the tropics, radio soccer guy, Jason Davis. Welcome on board. And how you feeling, partner?
Desde el Caribe. Yeah, I'm here in Puerto Rico with my family for the Christmas season, but have to be on Morning Kickaround, have to be talking to Rob Kerr, have to be getting into what's happening in American soccer. So yeah, glad to be here. It's a slightly different environment for me. Obviously, my comfortable studio back at home, but I'm set up. I'm ready to go. So we got lots to talk about. I know.
Yeah, plenty to talk about. We are going to talk about the changes in the lower leagues of the American soccer pyramid. We're going to talk about a big money extension in the NWSL, and then all sorts of MLS numbers and how real they are, and some comments from the commissioner. Big shout out to all the subscribers out there. We're about to 5.3K in the subscribers. Doesn't cost you a darn thing. Tell your friends and family. I saw a couple of people pressing the hype button on videos now. Ooh. Which is a new addition to YouTube. Not sure what it means, but I appreciate the people hyping up Morning Kickaround videos. And then big shout out to the MK Ultras, the channel members supporting this show at the maximum available amount. And then we put a little poll in the Morning Kickaround Discord server. One of the perks you get about being a member is, what's the interest level? Taking the temperature in Morning Kickaround merch. Jason and I have a pair of t-shirts and hoodies because we put something out for our on-site location event in New Mexico. But people have been asking us, are those real? Can we get them?
Are they real? Yeah, we're wearing fake things. Those are counterfeit. Those are black market.
Yeah, the tech level on the show is way better than you thought.
No, yeah. I would love to make some merch and get it out there, and sort of like how people would want it to look, right? That's a thing. Shout out to our man Chris.
Is that an MK espresso machine, like a Morning Kickaround branded espresso machine? I was talking t-shirts and stars and whatnot.
Shout out to my man Boricua Tosa Mario, who is saying he's super jealous that I'm in Puerto Rico right now. Drink some coquito or pitorro for me, please. I'm not going to drink pitorro right now. Pitorro is very strong alcohol. That's not happening this morning. I did have some caña last night, though, Mario. Mi suegro broke out the caña. So coquito has not happened, but it might. So shout out to Tosa Mario. Love that part.
Is that the sort of thing that if you were in a cartoon, you drink that and like Fireball comes out of your mouth? It's like that spicy?
The trick about pitorro or caña is that it's extremely smooth. It's sort of like Puerto Rican moonshine, but it's aged in a way. Like you age it. You infuse the rum. You know how you go to a hotel, Rob, and they have like the pitcher of water that has like lemon wedges or lemon slices in it, or cucumber or whatever, to like infuse the water with that flavor, right? So pitorro is kind of that idea, only with rum. And then you're burying it, you're letting it further ferment and smooth out, and then it's very dangerous because the alcohol content is extremely high, but the smoothness of it makes you think you're not actually engaging in a dangerous behavior. So it's a special thing down here.
That sounds like a wonderful vacation cerveza, definitely. And Luke in the chat, MK Ultra, big time supporter of the show, asks us, what does the sun look like? I mean, I've never counted down the days to what is it? The darkest day of the year is in a couple days, and I'm like, please, can we start adding some minutes of sunshine? Yeah. It snowed like 2 weeks ago. It's been so cold that the snow remains.
Okay, hold on. I think I got this right, Rob. This is okay. This is Morning Kickaround doing science, which is always a dangerous thing for me. Pretty sure it's a winter solstice.
That's the word, solstice.
Yes, that's right. We have the spring equinox, the summer solstice, the fall equinox, autumn equinox, and then the winter solstice. I think I'm right about that, but I
No,
could be
it's
wrong.
definitely the solstice. I just had a little bit of word recognition failure in the old ticker box,
Yeah.
but I've got some Unitarian friends that have a wonderful solstice party. And I can't wait to do it.
That's nice. Not an ultra, but I'm going to break a rule and bring a comment in here from Regino Gonzalez. He's saying, are you there to investigate the possibility of USL to Puerto Rico coming back? And there's obviously an emoji that's kind of like, oh, that's a joke. I'm not here to investigate that. I'm here to spend time with my family and eat all the lechon and not drink all the pitorro, but drink some pitorro, do other things with my kid. But I am very fascinated by the possibility. And I think we've heard that the Molina brothers, famously Major League Baseball greats, might be involved. I've heard Bad Bunny might have an interest in helping a soccer team launch again in Puerto Rico. But right now, brother, I have no idea. So, yeah, maybe I'll get some scoops while I'm down here.
The great unknown. We need some on the site pictures. Maybe they were secretly building a stadium down there that we didn't know about. So
yeah, I don't think so. They're going to keep using Ramon Lubriel, the Estadio Ramon Lubriel, whatever they call it. It's it's in I think it's in Bayamon. So
is that
anyway,
the one stadium they built back in the day that's big enough, sort of
it's
thing?
like the one stadium they keep trying to use for these things. Yeah, that's kind of what that is. Yeah.
Well, despite all this liquor, warm weather, and Puerto Rico talk, we'll move into the heart of the content. So as you go, hit subscribe, become a member. Let's get it going. Wednesday's edition of Morning Kickaround right here. Let's do it. Starting off here on Wednesday at the base of the pyramid, NPSL Commissioner Kenneth Farrell resigned earlier in the week. Another dent in the armor of the long-standing Elite Amateur League. And then they subsequently voted in Stephen Wagner, who's been involved in NPSL since 2013. So another individual very close in tight with NPSL. But a lot of people believe this is another sign of that league kind of flailing, as there's been a pretty large exodus from the league during Kenneth Farrell's tenure there, dipping under 100 participating teams, which was much higher about 10 years ago or so. But one of the biggest, signs of bad things coming their way, the champions, Hickory FC, amongst the teams departing from the NPSL.
Yeah, it's never look. This is the standard soccer wars world we live in, right, Rob? Like we don't go more than a couple of weeks without something like this happening. And I mean, not teams jumping leagues necessarily. That's not a common occurrence, but it's enough of an occurrence in American soccer that it's annoying, and it makes you wonder what's going on here. Now, in addition to NPSL clubs jumping ship to USL2, which could be about the leadership, could be about a number of things, and we'll come to that. We also have League for Clubs launching their Pro-Am division, which will be another place for clubs who are ambitious but don't think they can go fully pro to maybe level up. And again, it's not that any of this is bad on its face. And I respect everybody who's trying to make things work, and I would rather people try than not. But it is extremely chaotic. It's extremely messy. It's extremely difficult to kind of pin down. Now, it's also true that every time we talk to a club owner, a club executive, somebody who's launched a club in their community, they tell us it doesn't matter what league we play in. People really don't care what league we play in. Some people, who was it that just told us, Rob, that they were on a summer schedule with amateur players and their fans didn't even know they weren't professional. They just kind of assumed they were pros, right?
Yeah, I can't remember who that was, but that is not an isolated occurrence that the general public is not necessarily as engaged enough to know the difference between it. So a league or a club, rather, if they have a fan base of their own, they've cultivated that own community and core for themselves. The league itself is borderline immaterial. And like you said, League for Clubs started out of teams leaving leagues like NPSL and UPSL. The Midwest Premier League was born out of a similar situation. But when you lose your champion within the same calendar year, that's a big dent in the armor. And there's a whole big scroll-worthy website page on the USL2 website that has all the, like, about a dozen or so teams joining USL2, and a majority of them, or many of them, are longstanding NPSL sides that have shifted over.
To your point, here's Appalachian Football Club out of Boone, North Carolina, I believe is where they are based. And I bring this image up, not just to share the very good badge of Appalachian Football Club, highlight that they're moving from NPSL to USL2, but to also bring up this image of the kit they did that looks like Sasquatch hair.
They advertise it as the squatchiest kit in soccer, which it's hard to argue with.
It's definitely squatchy. That kit is super squatchy. I don't know that I would buy it, but this is an example of a club that's got some heat, right? Got a pull in its community. Is there? And we talked about this before too, Rob. Now, obviously, sort of bigger colleges, you think bigger interest and bigger fan bases, but we talked about how a lot of these USL2, NPSL level clubs, Division 4 clubs are succeeding in the summer in college towns, right? And I believe that in this case, Appalachian State in Boone, Appalachian Football Club kind of filling a void. I'm not sure about the soccer program there. I think there's something going on, or there was, and that's why this club popped up. And they've, again, you brand well, people pay attention. Who doesn't love a Sasquatch? Who doesn't love a Bigfoot, Rob? I mean, come on. I mean, you brand well, you put yourself in a position, you get some attention. And again, one day, I don't know that that's where they are now, but one day you could imagine them going pro. And if they want to go pro, what is easier, to go from NPSL to try to figure out how to negotiate? We got to get a relationship with USL. We got to, or whoever is our pro pathway. And right now that is USL, or just to join USL too, especially if NPSL is, as Luke said, maybe getting a little lazy. And right there, you have that relationship. And if you're in USL 2 and you're like, you know what, I think we could go pro, USL 1 is sitting right there for you. And in a couple years, that's going to be a third division league within a pyramid promotion and relegation structure. And you can start to dream really big.
Yeah, there's, a beaten path now, or starting to become a beaten path to go from the USL 2 to USL League 1. Just in the expansion sides going pro next year, you got the likes of Fort Wayne, Sarasota, Corpus Christi, until they pushed back. Fort Lauderdale was in that group. But what we got on screen here, Appalachian's squatchy kit, is kind of unreal. I'll give them a little bit of shout out. This is a $65 item here. I want to see a little bit of an informal poll. Who would spend $65 on this? It's a good laugh. We're going to remember this. But I got to say that the numbers on the back, as a commentator, as a soccer commentator, I don't love it, because the numbers on the back are that faded gray, just like the advertiser here on the front. And I wouldn't be able to see the numbers on this squatchy players.
I don't think I put the back into our graphics today. So I don't have that to point to. However, the way this looks, right? This is like photograph level hair, right? Like the way this is like the shirt with a photograph on it, and it doesn't look real. Like, it looks fake to me. And I'm not saying it is, because obviously they're selling it. It can't be. But I just, it looks fake. I'm sorry. Wouldn't wear it. Wouldn't buy it. But, as a laugh, as you said.
All right, Hickory FC, that's the badge. Beautiful badge. This is the NPSL Champions 2025, who are amongst those jumping ship to move to USL 2. And some of their supporters, fan videos have been popping up, and they seem very pleased. They're viewing it as a promotion, while in the American pyramid, they are on level terms. In shaping of it, they're viewing this as a promotion.
Yeah, that's interesting that they're seeing this as a promotion. I mean, obviously, as a champion, it kind of feels like, hey, we should be promoted. Oh, we're changing leagues? Well, that must be a promotion, not because you're going from one fourth division amateur league to another fourth division amateur league. I mean, again, let's remember, just because it's called USL 2 now, just because USL is moving forward with promotion, relegation, and Division 1 plans, with the caveat that there still isn't a CBA done yet, and that's a thing that's hanging over the league. Just because of that doesn't mean that there hasn't long been NPSL, PDL, formerly the PDL battles back and forth, teams jumping shit. Oh, we're going to go this year. We're going to be a PDL team. Next year we'll be an NPSL team, and back and forth. And those, I think, again, who is around you locally that's in that league so that you can have, a divisional schedule that makes sense for you. Travel, obviously a thing here. There are other elements to the way the leagues operate that would obviously make them more attractive to certain clubs. Here we go with Hickory, the champion jumping ship. Never a good sign. I'm looking at the rest of this page, and we're going to get to, I think I have one more graphic here to pull up. But so Appalachian is moving. Bethesda SC out of Bethesda, Maryland. Connecticut Rush out of Connecticut, obviously. Eagle FC out of Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. Edgewater Castle FC out of Chicago. That's an interesting one. They've been around for a while, made some waves, driving interest, not just in playing soccer, but being a part of their community, advocating for certain groups and people in that community. USL is coming to Greeley, Colorado, which I believe is Northern Colorado, home of University of Northern Colorado, something like that. I believe Greeley's a college town. They don't have a team yet, I don't think, because they don't have a logo.
That's a branding that we'll have to keep an eye out for.
Hickory FC, as you mentioned. Hill City FC is a brand new expansion team, period. Never played a game yet. They're going to be in USL 2 out of Lynchburg, Virginia. We already did their badge on the show. Jackson Boom, Jackson, Tennessee. Lakeland United, Lakeland, Florida. Loudoun United FC 2 out of Leesburg, obviously connected to the USL team. Louisville City FC, obviously connected to the USL outfit. Lubbock Matadors, that's a Hitch team out of Lubbock, Texas. Memphis FC, I think we've talked about them. They're launching in Memphis. PA Classics, famous youth club in Pennsylvania out of Lancaster. Port City out of Wilmington, North Carolina. I think this is a big one that people noted that they're leaving, Rob, and going to USL 2. Rockford Raptors out of Rockford, Illinois, which is a great name, Rockford Raptors. They need to work on that badge, though. Not great. And Texoma, which was a pro team and is now going to play USL 2 as they kind of drop down. And then
before you bring this graphic up, I do want to say that USL 2 with all these additions are getting to that critical mass where I know, at least I can speak locally here in the Great Lakes division for the USL 2. Obviously, I'm a Oakland County FC guy, and we're in the Great Lakes division, and 5 out of the 6 teams in the division are all in state. And so we have that mass to where we have that realistic travel program that doesn't absolutely bankrupt the team because they're trying to travel all the way across the United States. The League for Clubs, they're trying to get there, but there's still some big spaces in there with how new they are. But going back to the new USL 2 teams, bring up this beauty, would you?
Yeah, so this is Lorain County, and they're going to be the I guess, do they exist already? We just weren't aware of them. Is this a mistake like a miss on our part?
It was presented as Lorain County FC rebranded to this, which is apparently a word I've never read or seen before and couldn't pronounce.
Rob had some issues pronouncing this word in the pre-show meeting today. Do you want to give it a shot, or is it too embarrassing? Is it unfair to put you on the spot here, Rob? Should we?
I'll give it one more try. This is like 3rd or 4th attempt. Lorain County.
She walked you through it. Jenny walked you through it. All right, what we got?
But that was like 20 minutes ago. Is it the Leviathan? Apparently it's not. It's Lorain County Leviathan.
I want you to make that I a long I.
Leviathan. There we go.
Leviathan.
I made it there. Leviathan. Big I in Leviathan. But that's quite a crest.
Our man Luke bought my Lorain County shirt last night. Love everything about this except the name, but whatever. Lovely area for a club. So there's
for those not in the know, that is in the Cleveland area.
Okay.
There. So the soccer war for Cleveland rages on with another participant, a new face, Leviathan.
Leviathan.
That is a weird word, but very cool, and I like that we're stepping out of the box. And one of the beautiful things about lower league soccer,
I took it down. Let me put it back up one more time, just because we do really need to pay attention to some detail here. First of all, man, you went full on scary with this. Full on scary. Do you think maybe there will be some kids will be like, I don't want to wear that. Look at that. That's too scary. I imagine there's detail here that is related to something about Lorain County. It's a choice, Rob. This is a choice.
Depending on the merch that they put out, this could be for like this generation's like Misfits or ICP, or if like wearing something in the school that looks kind of edgy or scary. It depends on the merch they put out. Like if this badge is on the back of like a ripped jean jacket or something like that, or something like that. But if it's on like a kind of a turquoise blue t-shirt, I don't know.
The thing about this is when you say Leviathan, I don't know if this is what I picture, right? Like this is like some sort of like mutant creature out of like maybe Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles could have a character like this, like something. I don't know. Give me another reference that this would. This I don't know what I think of when I think of Leviathan, but I'm not sure it looks like this. But I guess good on Lorain County for making a splash.
So what is the actual definition of a Leviathan?
I don't think this is
okay. So according to Google, it's a powerful, chaotic sea monster from ancient Eastern myth and from the Hebrew Bible. So.
Yes, I told you it's a Bible reference. Leviathan is referenced in the Bible in the Old Testament quite a bit, or at least a couple of times. And I think people tend to think of it more as a serpent, right? And you said this is Cleveland area. Is there not a Lake Erie monster? Like, isn't every big lake have a monster?
Yeah, there's an AHL soccer team or AHL hockey team rather called the Lake Erie Monsters.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that now. Maybe they couldn't go in that direction because they would be biting their style. To me this doesn't look like a sea creature. That looks like it looks like some sort of ogre or something. But I don't know.
But no shortage of creativity in the elite amateur world. And one amongst the reasons why I love it, and eyeballs and attention should be shared and spared at that level. Can't wait for summer 2026. Changing direction significantly now. Up in Portland, Oregon, the Portland Thorns star player Sophia Wilson picks up her player option for record NWSL record $1 million annual salary. And this is a little bit surprising, raises the eyebrows given the situation Trinity Rodman finds herself in, looking for the big dollar deal.
Yeah. First of all, worth noting that Sophia Wilson missed last year because she had her first child with her husband, Michael Wilson, Arizona Cardinals wide receiver. That's why she's Wilson now. She obviously used to be Smith. This is confounding some people. Why was there pushback from the league on Trinity Rodman's $1 million contract if Sophia Smith has a $1 million player option? And I think probably what is at work here is, again, the way that Michelle Kang and the Spirit tried to structure Trinity Rodman's deal, which was backloaded. And by the way, this has become the trend. This has become the way of things in world football, but certainly in sports, right? The Dodgers gather all this talent by getting Shohei Ohtani to take like $2 million this year, but $40 million in 3 years or whatever, 100, whatever his insane numbers are, because he's worth it. And that way, the club has more flexibility on the front of the contract, right? Like we can put together a championship team, but you're going to get paid. Don't worry, this is guaranteed. You've got a contract that's going to pay you a ton of money on the back end of this deal. And it seems as though the league's issue with the Washington Spirit offer to Trinity Rodman had to do with that kind of thing, that there was going to be a giant bump or a significant bump percentage-wise in Trinity Rodman's deal, that the club was sort of banking on more money coming in from TV rights in that fourth year or whatever it was, that would then allow the salary budget to go up so they wouldn't have problems fielding the rest of their team. And the league said, wait a second, you can't predict the future. You don't know that money is going to be there to push the salary budget higher because it's tied to the CBA, and allow you to put together a team. Based on the way the contract is written right now, if things stay the same, you won't have any flexibility to field a team. So, man, I don't know. Is this bad faith on the part of the NWSL, and how bad does it look now that, again, just if you're reading this in a very facile way, Rob, you're not diving into the details as a fan, it screams double standard when Trinity Rodman can't get $1 million, but Sophia Wilson can.
Yeah, it's tough to swallow, and it gets into those mechanics of how rosters are constructed. Like, what is permissible and what is not, as the NWSL is getting forced into, or is being thrust into the spotlight of how they construct their rosters, what restriction they can have as they, they're getting more competition. There's bids coming in for overseas for these top players. And also we saw the offer from the USL women's side. So there is some competition for these top players, and NWSL has to do something to stem the tide of their top talent moving away. And it would seem that they were able to secure at least one, with Sophia Wilson being able to stay.
Yeah.
I mean, she is a top player, didn't play very much recently. And it's interesting how both of these top players that are in the midst of these big money deals are having trouble with their health on top of it.
Yeah, I suppose. This is from Chris, who's catching us up on I referenced Shohei Ohtani and the deal he signed with the Dodgers, and this is what I was talking about. Dodgers are going to be paying Ohtani $2 million each of his 10-year contract, then $68 million for the next 10 years, meaning the Dodgers could be paying him $68 million while another team pays him $20 million plus, which would be his going annual rate probably at that point. So that was just to kind of bring in this way that clubs are structuring. Now, this is a player option, right? So the club had no say here, which is interesting because NWSL is a single entity league structured very much like MLS in that regard. And MLS, as far as I'm aware, has no unilateral player options. It is always either a club option or a mutual option. And I mean, I don't think that that's the case. It is interesting that the Thorns, desperate to keep Sophia Smith, really wanting her to be a Thorn for the foreseeable future, said, okay, we'll give you an option in 2026 that is your choice, your option, and it's $1 million, which is a record salary in the NWSL.
Looking at some reporting in gold.com, there's also a further note saying that Emma Hayes, United States women's national team coach, is encouraging her players to play in Europe. So it's almost like a Jurgen Klinsmann sort of a thing in a way too, to have the coach kind of urge those top players to move abroad, and they're following their coach's instructions, which goes into direct conflict with what the league is trying to do with keeping their players.
Yeah, I don't know that Emma. I don't blame Emma. I mean, I think for a lot of the idea isn't necessarily, hey, the soccer is that much better over there. I think the idea is the experience is different. And that's also what Jurgen Klinsmann was talking about. And I don't want my hackles to be raised that easily, right? I don't want to get defensive about American soccer and American domestic leagues in the face of managers, coaches of the U.S. men's, women's national league programs who come from different cultures themselves. I mean, neither Jurgen Klinsmann nor Emma Hayes are American, as much as Emma Hayes does have ties here and does love America. She sees this as a possibility of expanding horizons for players, which would then probably, in her mind, maybe lead to better players at the end of the day. I definitely think, and I wrote a little bit about this on my newsletter last week, the Trinity Rodman situation, the issue the NWSL has that MLS did not. And I think I did talk about this already, but just to reiterate, MLS was never going to be on a road to top league in the world, or they were never in a position to say we're a top league in the world and we need to defend that position. They are making moves now because they want to be in that conversation, and they're trying to be ambitious on some level, and we'll get to that in a minute. But the NWSL, as soon as they sort of entered the world of women's soccer at a professional level, before Europe started firing up the engines and really making a push, certainly with the Women's Super League in England, and you can point to a smattering of clubs around the rest of Europe, NWSL was in a place to say, we're the best league in the world. We're the best women's soccer league in the world, period. Now, I don't want to get into the debate of whether they are or are not right now, but if that's something you are perceived to be, you have to defend that position. You have to do things when the tide starts to turn or when Europe starts to fire up the engines to make sure you're not losing that position, right? This is like king of the mountain in the playground at school. Like, somebody knocks you off, you got to defend your spot here. And I think this is the problem that they have. Keep the business on solid footing. Don't go crazy with the spending. Don't risk upending the league from a financial perspective, but maintain your position as the preeminent women's soccer league in the world. again, have they not, is it too late? Riverside Grove says it's too late. I don't know. I don't know that I buy that. I think parity complicates this because the NWSL wants to maintain parity. Lots of people will point to the parity in the NWSL being a strength of that league. And yet it means that teams can't kind of ascend to the heights that, say, Arsenal women, Barcelona, those kind of clubs are reaching.
Yeah, do you want a dozen teams that are in the 7 out of 10, or do you want, one team that's a 9.5 out of 10 and the rest be, 4 or 5s? And that's kind of what they're facing. And yeah, don't shoot yourself in the foot while chasing individuals. Is a good point.
And they're just like any other American sports league. There are owners who want to spend and there are owners who don't. And that's the problem, right? Trying to figure out what the sweet spot is for how ambitious can we be without losing some of the people that are paying bills at a number of these clubs.
Well, halfway through our cross-hemispherical edition here on Morning Kickaround, want to give a shout-out.
You can say hemispherical, but you can't say Leviathan, Rob?
I've never seen the word Leviathan before. I have a decent vocabulary. I mean, I pronounce names a lot, but this show has provided some curveballs. And what's one of the wonderful things about the World's Game, it always brings some educational value. I know my geography better than most, and apparently I know what an ancient sea beast from the Bible is called. Yeah. Now it's a Leviathan.
You probably know all the shires or whatever they are, and I have no idea about any of those things. I mean, I kind of have a sense where Yorkshire is and that kind of East Anglia.
Yeah, I was going to say we've talked a lot. We've got to talk a lot of Spanish names and South American names and stuff like that. So we should. Maybe I'll bring up 6 different county names in the UK, and you try to.
All right, that's a good idea. I like that. We will do that one day.
Worcestershire. Say that. Can you say Worcestershire?
Worcestershire. Yeah, I can say Worcestershire. I got some of that sauce in my fridge back at home. Some Worcestershire sauce.
Not sure if he can say it. I'm not sure if he can say Worcestershire, but Pilkman15, shout out to you for being an MK Ultra. We'll get you in the Morning Kickaround Discord server, and you can get your dotted onto the map of our MK Ultra board there, dotting the map of the American soccer landscape. Be like Pilkman. Become an MK Ultra. And at the very least, hit that subscribe button and tell your family, friends, and acquaintances about MK, about Morning Kickaround. Right. And sorry, this made me laugh.
What? So, and Andrew is saying we're saying it differently. We're saying Worcestershire
sauce. Put some Worcestershire sauce.
So it's like the town in Massachusetts. It doesn't have the "shire" on it, but the town in Massachusetts, it looks like Worcester. And if you're not from Massachusetts, you're like, oh, it's Worcester. And then people in Massachusetts say, no, that's Worcester. What are you talking about? That's Worcester. And it's kind of not the same thing, actually. Now that I think about it.
One of my favorite family lore stories is my mom's American, my dad's English. They dated cross-continentally or cross-Atlantic wise.
Hemispherically. Yeah, they did that.
That's the one, cross-continental communications. And so when my mom tried to get a hold of my father on the phone, she had to go through an operator back in the day, and she tried to find him by searching through the phone book of Leicestershire rather than the famous Leicestershire. So that was one of my, and apparently the operator had quite a laugh at that. We are halfway through our episode, and we're going to move right along. We're going to dip into today's hot topic, talk a little MLS Cup final action here on Morning Kickaround. Today's hot topic here on Morning Kickaround. We recently got some numbers from Major League Soccer. According to their PR department, Major League Soccer MLS Cup Final 2025, absolutely record-breaking multi-platform consumption and social engagement. Inter Miami FC, or CF, versus Vancouver Whitecaps. Big numbers in that early television spot on Fox over the weekend.
Yeah, that, the Messi factor, right? The Messi impact is obviously significant here. They did have that game simulcast, right, on Apple TV. You could watch it there. which I think, again, you had to have an Apple TV subscription to watch it, but not necessarily an MLS season pass subscription because of the way they did the playoffs. And then obviously you could watch it on Fox, which would have been a different broadcast team and all that stuff. They're saying that these are records. I mean, it's always about context. I'm sure people will tear down these numbers and say they're still not all that great, especially if you compare them, I don't know, to the biggest Premier League game in a given month or something, Rob, or certainly, a Super Clásico in Mexico between Club America and Guadalajara. You're going to get, massive numbers to watch that here in the United States because of the interest in Mexican football. Obviously, you compare it to basically any NFL game. I mean, you got the Browns and the Raiders. They probably do better numbers than MLS Cup final, right?
Yeah, you'd imagine so. Yeah, when you look at the top rated television programs across American TV, it's like 9 out of the top 10 are NFL football games. It's not that it's a drop in the pond, so to speak. But one of the interesting notes here in this release was that Vancouver hosted the biggest watch party. They sold 21,500, just over 20,000 fans packed into BC Place for the largest away viewing party in MLS Cup history.
I think that's because it was really cold in Vancouver. They all just wanted to be inside for a while and maybe drink beer. Like, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Of course, they were there to support.
You're not packing the streets, watching it in some town square.
Well, I will say this. If you want to measure, I'm not trying to tear anybody down. I know there are soccer fans in Vancouver, and on the radio, I think last week or a week before that, I talked to a guy from Copa 90, Eli, and somebody's going to help me with his name. He's an Australian guy. He goes around and kind of does a travel log, various soccer stories. He went to Vancouver and unpacked the history of the Whitecaps, and he talked to Thomas Muller about why he ended up in Vancouver. And I know there's like deep connections to the game in Vancouver, but they lost the MLS Cup final. Did you hear about any riots in the streets of Vancouver when they lost MLS Cup final, Rob? I didn't catch any word of those things.
It was not a similar reaction to when the Vancouver Canucks lose in the playoffs or in the finals, because they definitely do riot for the ice hockey there.
They do.
I don't know if I touched on this, but they're saying that 3.6 million viewers tuned into the Apple TV and MLS season pass broadcast, and all there's about 7 different broadcast partners there, and then 4.6 million plus viewers across all of the platforms, setting new benchmarks for social media impressions and attracting youngest ever MLS Cup audience.
Yeah, look, these are all good things. I'm not trying to cut down MLS. I think we have to put context around these things. People want the league to hit home runs, sorry to mix my metaphors, all the time. And if they don't, then that's a cudgel to hit them with in terms of like the growth of the game. And obviously, thank you to Eric, by the way. Eli Mangum is who I'm talking about. Go watch his piece on Vancouver on Copa 90's YouTube channel. Very good.
Great stuff.
Yeah. That thing of you're the custodians of the de facto custodians of the game. Like MLS, whether you love, hate, and I know we got some people who don't like MLS, and that's fine. I understand you, but it's undeniable that MLS is the flag bearer for American soccer globally, right? Like the way American soccer is viewed is largely through the prism of Major League Soccer, because it's the most visible men's outdoor soccer league we have. That's how you judge us. And so when they fail at something or they come up short, the numbers aren't as good, or there are lots of reasons to criticize MLS and the decisions that they've made. It's just not fair to them or American soccer on the whole to ignore some of the things they're up against. In fact, Don Garber talked about them when it came to the calendar switch that's coming, Rob.
Yeah, he talked about how this was a big reason. He acknowledged the fact in that interview that being on in the early afternoon was forced that way because of all the other sports broadcasts happening that day. But it's interesting they got numbers given the early time slot.
Yeah, I'm sorry to cut you off there, but I realized I have this. This is Don Garber on Landon Donovan and Howard's show, Unfiltered, talking about the TV factors and the calendar switch.
Example, we had to play our game at 2:30 in the afternoon because we had a Fox window in our contract with Fox. They get a simulcast, not even an exclusive window, of the Cup with Apple. We had basketball games, you had the SEC championship, you had the Georgia game. How could any fans are not going to sit from 12 noon until 11 o'clock at night watching TV. We're up against this time of the year, the NFL, every sport other than baseball. College sports are becoming way, way, way more popular and valuable. We had to move our most valuable programming, our playoffs, away from the fall.
Yeah. Yep.
We had to align on the transfer window. This is the soccer stuff.
Okay, the transfer window is a slightly different topic. So I'm going to pause it here, Rob, because that issue of Major League Soccer's biggest game, right? The season-ending finale, crowning a champion, all of the things you want that game to be. And he's talking about having to compete with those other sports properties. And I think what's interesting to me is that I don't know, and I'd love to know what's happened internally at MLS over the years. I don't know if MLS has always thought about themselves as competing for sports fans, or if it's we're aiming at soccer fans, right? And I don't want to get too precious about this. And I'm a general sports fan. But I got an NFL team. I'll watch college football. I'm not a huge basketball guy, but you get the March Madness coming around, I'm probably going to pay attention. I'll watch the NHL playoffs. Obviously, Major League Baseball. Baseball is my first love. I'm still tied into baseball. I don't know, though. I think a lot of people perceive soccer fans to be different. And maybe our ultras and people watching us today can give me some insight. Maybe you, as somebody who works locally with a club and sees what soccer fandom is like in Michigan, are soccer fans general sports fans, or are soccer fans different? And should MLS be thinking about it this way?
Are soccer fans general sports fans? I think it all depends. There's some yes, some no. I definitely know people who only like soccer, but I think if we're talking in general tense, I think that they are. I think that a lot of people who watch soccer are also going to tune into a football game. And I think that Mr. Garber here is underestimating the Americans' ability to watch 12 hours of television.
Well, that might be fair. That might be true. But logically speaking, and look, I work with Eric Winaldo on the radio every day. When Eric ran for U.S. soccer president, and even before that and since then, he's talked about he thought the calendar should switch for this very reason, that he thought it was wild and ridiculous, and it undercut the league for the league to put its most important games on during a part of the calendar when Americans are largely focused on American football.
Yeah, and that's where I guess I didn't say it super clear, but I agree with that point. And it sucks to put this is supposed to be the crown jewel of the Major League Soccer season, and it's in a completely different time slot than the whole season was. You trained the MLS audience to view 90% of the games at Saturday at 7 o'clock, and then the finals not. And we had a small get together to watch the MLS Cup final, and there was multiple people that couldn't make it because they made the assumption that it was in the evening.
Yes, I was mildly shocked when we got to MLS Cup week, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to settle in the evening after we do a bunch of Saturday stuff as a family. We're going to maybe get out." And then the game's at 3? The game's at 3? Oh, okay. Well, how do I make sure that I can watch the game at 3? And guess what? I ended up watching it on my phone while I was out because the game was on while we were doing other. I think I don't. Was there a birthday party? I don't even. That's the thing. There was something going on in that moment where I was not able to sit down and watch the way I wanted to, and maybe I should have planned better. I don't know, but I think you're right. I think there was an assumption that the game was happening in the normal window, and then because of the way the television contract worked, they had to pull it up, and then it's up against, as we said, the SEC title game, which I think overlapped a little bit at the end. There's never going to be a perfect moment for MLS and for American soccer. There's never going to be a perfect television window. But there's certainly plenty of logic in let's shift this to June when there's less competition in terms of big games in those other sports. Because what's happening in June, obviously there's playoffs in other sports, but I think the idea is that that's less cluttered because American football is not there.
And one of the derisions against Major League Soccer, they're worried more about entertainment, corporate sponsorship than the actual sporting merit of themselves itself. Like many people have said that they put more emphasis on the MLS All-Star Game than the MLS Cup Final in years past. But I do want to bring this.
Well, that's because hold on. That's because you could and this MLS switching MLS Cup Final to the home of the highest remaining seed was the right move. You should want a home audience for that game. It should be something you play for during the regular season. We want the right to host the final, but it means you cannot plan for that game the way you can plan for an All-Star game, because you identify an All-Star game host years in advance, and you can plan and build and make that an event. The MLS Cup Final comes together so quickly that, and this year was only 1 week. I think in years past, we've had a 2-week break. This year was only 1 week to try to build all that stuff and get the logistics done. And we saw, because of the timing of the World Cup draw, the World Cup coming next year, Don Garber didn't do his events in Miami, in Fort Lauderdale. He did his events in D.C. because that was the center of the soccer world on a Friday, a day before the MLS Cup Final. And while Messi was playing in the final, and that's a big deal for MLS, you couldn't deny that most of the attention was moving towards D.C. and what was happening on Friday. So there's lots of things here.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. There's always a caveat with Major League Soccer and American soccer in general. I'm curious if all the cards fell in the right way, if they're making record-breaking viewership numbers in this early afternoon slot. I'm curious what that would have been in that regular prime time slot if there was that much interest in this matchup. One of our MK Ultra Sluggo said thinks it's high time to stop worrying about what other countries think of Major League Soccer. And just on that point, I'm not sure if it's what other countries think of Major League Soccer that's the worrying part. It's how many viewers and fans of soccer in other countries. Right. So you're trying to legitimize the domestic product to the domestic audience, because there's a lot of soccer fans, just not a lot of Major League Soccer fans.
Yeah, having hosted an American soccer focused radio show for 10 years, having done this for a very long time, American soccer is a big tent, but we're all sort of in our little pockets within that tent. Or like here in Puerto Rico, there's always a big party. I'm going to be going to multiple big holiday parties while I'm here. You get the big tents. You put the tables under the tents. And then the various family groups put themselves in various tables. Now, some people will mingle, but for the most part, you're kind of like, oh, that's that branch of the family over there. And there's the other branch of the family. Oh, that's the in-laws over there. There's the boyfriend's family over there. That's what we do as American soccer fans. Liga MX, the Premier League, everybody who's an Italian football fan first, a German football fan first. Obviously, MLS has its adherents. There's lower league adherents in multiple. Like, the wealth of availability of soccer is amazing and something we should not take for granted. But it means we are fractured in a way I don't know that many other soccer cultures are. Partly because those soccer cultures almost to a nation. Although I think we tend to focus on the big ones, the top teams or top countries in Europe and South America, they had a runway where their league was the only thing that was on television or on the radio or mattered to the culture. So they had built in, I'm attached to those clubs, even as the Premier League is now on television, even as another league can infiltrate the market. They're so attached to the teams that have always been there that they don't, the people in charge of those leagues don't have to necessarily worry too much about Boca Juniors doesn't have to worry about whether their fans are going to suddenly become Premier League fans to the exclusion of Boca Juniors. But if you're running an American soccer league, you've got to wonder if there are people in your backyard who do not care about your product because they can watch Chelsea every weekend.
Yeah, that's a huge thing to battle against, and lots of competition, like you said. One of our ultras, Chris, making the point about being a general sports fan. He lists Bruins, Flyers, Eagles, Pats, Red Sox, Phillies, MLS, Philadelphia, Union, Liverpool. So Chris, huge fan, lots of fans. And I know our guy, Luke, MK Ultra Luke.
Multiple football teams, multiple baseball teams. Luke, what are you doing? Never mind. I'm not Luke. Sorry, Chris. I meant Chris. Never mind. I'm not judging. I'm not judging Chris. I'm not judging anybody. Let's move on. Do we want to hear? Go ahead.
I was just going to say one more note. Our guy, Soccer Night in Detroit, he watches USL here. Obviously, a big DCFC fan, but he also watches English League, Scottish League, and Champions League. So there's a lot of competition, even for those who are dedicated domestic viewers.
Do we want to hear the rest of this clip and Garber talk about the money factors with the transfer market? Do we want to hear that?
Sure.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
$300 million in incoming transfers this year, guys. $300 million. $200 million in outgoing transfers. $500 million of economic movement to be part of the global, transfer market. I mean, these are astounding numbers. And yet a team has got to make a decision about transferring a player right before the playoffs. We had to launch the league with the calendar we did, but it was not something we could do if you want to be a top league in the world. So owners had courage. The northern owners struggled. I feel for them. We'll have to manage the schedule so it has less impact. They're going to have to make changes to their stadiums with heated fields in markets where they're not. And we're going to have to ask for support from our fans. If you're a fan in Minnesota, you love your team. You love your league. When I see they're singing, their song at the end with their club, it brings tears to my eyes. So we're saying, I hear you, but I hope and ask for you to understand that we're doing this because it'll make Minnesota United a better team in a better league.
You buying what Don is selling there?
A little bit. I did want to say another notch against the commissioner. Apparently, he does not know Oasis. He did not know.
He struggled to pull the name of Wonderwall. I think you're right. In that moment, he was like, that song that they sing. He was like, I can't.
I don't want to say the wrong one.
No, but I will. To be fair, when you're on camera with a microphone in your face, your brain stops working in ways it's supposed to work. And you know this from Leviathan or whatever.
Leviathan also, that challenged me for sure, but that was fair enough. That was just a joke deriding him. Do I believe him? Oh, I think it brings it back to who is the most valuable asset or stakeholder in this whole thing. It's like, it's good for business, good for the league. Sorry, fans, is the thing I kind of.
I mean, there was some of that was certainly the message, right? It was like, hey, Minnesota United fans in particular, pointing them out because they're playing in a northern climate, it's going to be cold. Hey, if you really love your team, you have to support them no matter what. And we're making decisions we think are good for our business, and you're just going to have to deal with the consequences. I think we'll move on because I don't want to belabor this, but so much of this comes down to, do you as a fan, if you're already an MLS invested fan, and I'm not talking about making new fans or people coming to the league late. I'm talking about fans who have been invested and particularly those who've been invested for a while. Do you want MLS to be bigger and better and richer and more important than it is? Do you want that? Is that necessary for you? Is that something you care about? Or are you just okay with the team and the league the way it is because you go out and support them every season? Because I think that is really the tipping point when it comes to this. Because if you got fans who are saying, this is part of my life, I love my team, and to them, it doesn't matter if you're spending $80 million on a player. They do not care about that. They just want to support their team and represent their local community. This is all bad for them. If they live in Minnesota or Montreal or Toronto, it's not good. If you are a fan who ties your fandom to the growth of American soccer, the importance of American soccer, if you need to be validated on some level by having your domestic league be one of the biggest leagues in the world, then whether you buy what Don said or not, you can kind of get to a point of understanding why a decision like this might happen.
Yeah, MLS clubs are going to be listed in this transfer trackers, just like the other European leagues. Now you're going to say names in and out, left, right, and center. So I think, to your point, that will elevate it to that subsect of fans. Shout out to, before we get to our final segment of the day, shout out to Pilkman15, our newest member of the MK Ultras, and then also shout out to Luke Zagorski, donating $5 and shouting out to he's crediting the Leviathan crest to his ex-wife for modeling for the crest. So some good humor from the Ultras.
Wow.
Join the MK Ultras and enjoy such perks as on-screen comments during these live streams, bonus content, and access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server. All right, we're going to move right along, be like those guys, and we're going to finally wrap it all up today. We're going to talk about World Cup tickets and their supposed affordability here on Morning Kickaround. Big question here on the Morning Kickaround. I'm Robert. He's Jason. So, in response to a backlash from the global football world and the supporters groups all across the world, FIFA has slashed the price of some World Cup tickets for teams of the most loyal fans following the backlash, saying that there is $60 tickets available for all the games instead of being asked to pay $4,185. Do we feel that this is a real thing? I'm seeing other reports saying that there's less than 1,000 of these, and they're not necessarily protected from the bots and all those guys.
I mean, devil's in the details, right? Read the fine print. This is what Henry Bushnell and Adam Crafton wrote at The Athletic. FIFA, amid an uproar over 2026 World Cup prices, has tweaked its pricing categories and will offer around 1,000 tickets per game for $60 to supporters of the two participating teams. This is called the supporter entry tier. And obviously, this feels like it's in direct response to all the uproar over the ticket prices, by far the highest in World Cup history. The furor over this intensified on Thursday of last week when a third sales phase, the first since the World Cup draw, opened to everyone. When it did, supporters tickets, so those are the ones reserved for committed fans and participating teams, were priced the same as standard tickets available to the general public. So there was no supporter tier difference when they released these on Thursday. So, for example, $700 for a standard Category 1 ticket to England versus Croatia, and $700 for a supporters premium tier ticket. There was a supporter standard tier that was equivalent to Category 2, and that was $500 for most group games, and the supporter value tier in Category 3, which was $265 for those games. So again, now this is a value tier, $60 entry tier, whatever. The value tier will be reduced to 40% of each team's allotment, and the entry tier will be 10%. So the value tier is not there's two different things happening here, but one of them is the $60 tier, right? $60 tickets will therefore represent 1.6% of the total tickets available for each match, with 0.8% of the total going to supporters of each team. So split that 1.6% in half. And do the math, Rob, in a 60,000 seat stadium, what is 1%? It's not
a handful.
It's not a lot. It's not a lot.
It's a throwback to when there was that tier 4 tickets, when they showed the stadium maps and that like little speckle up in the top corner of the fourth tier color. That's what kind of that reminds me of. And then you put on screen here, only 10% of the total number of tickets provided to each qualified team will be available for $60, including the final. Given each team gets 8% of the available tickets per game, effective number of tickets available for that price would be only 0.8% of the stadium capacity, and 1.6 for those teams combined. So 1.6 of a stadium. Can you fill a stadium, a large stadium, with an atmosphere? Can we reach fever pitch, that status of atmosphere where we just get to nuts status? Can we get there with 1.6 of the stadium being the dedicated fans?
There are going to be pockets of dedicated fans who are willing to pay these prices, who will show up and add the color that we expect from a World Cup. I have no doubt about that. There are enough people who are willing to just stomach these prices to support their teams as they travel here or live here and go to games to support their chosen nation, that I think there will be pockets of that. However, it can't be like other World Cups. People who would normally go to those World Cups are definitely going to be priced out. The atmospheres are going to be sedate, right? They're going to be impacted. It's going to feel like a Super Bowl. And as much as a Super Bowl can be exciting, you don't watch a Super Bowl because the crowd is engaged. You don't watch the Super Bowl because people are just buzzing throughout. You watch the Super Bowl because it's the two best teams, and there's other things that create the ambience, so the ambiance, the atmosphere. Yeah, that's the thing. Like this is trying to placate the angry masses with crumbs, and it's gross. It's so gross on the part of FIFA to do it this way.
Yeah, one of the most compelling things about the World Cup is just the fans. Some of the fan shots for the World Cup are some of the lasting images we get from each edition of this tournament that, most people around the world view as the pinnacle of sport. And nothing against those folks with large bank accounts, but not many of them are the ones that are just going to like absolutely lose their minds and dedicate themselves to following their teams around, just, you know, creating their own subcultures, and then just, like, lack of a better term, like losing their shit at a game. Like, you know, it's hard to get up like that when you got the white gloves on. And when we're using the similarity with NFL, consider them.
Sorry, Rob. Click the wrong button. That's
Hey, are we being censored? Are we being censored?
No.
Is
That's my fault.
FIFA coming for us?
Yeah,
But I was just
go ahead.
going to say, like, NFL players regularly state that they view the NFC or the AFC championship as one of the biggest events and the biggest atmospheres that they play all season, because they have their home fans there.
Yeah.
And then the Super Bowl is almost just the cherry on top.
I mean,
that's
look,
the spectacle.
obviously-
That's what you put in the record books.
Obviously, outside of the home nation, it's going to be really tough. And I don't know how that works in the United States, because obviously, as a mixing, as a melting pot of a country, we do have representative communities of pretty much every World Cup participating country. So you would imagine that would have some impact. But obviously, for the traditional soccer playing nations, that's the only time you're going to get that real energy is when the home team is playing, right? And you can kind of almost guarantee that a Germany game in Germany is going to have a stadium filled with Germans. That's not going to be the case here in the United States. And like, that's not really, I don't think that's really the issue. Like, the atmosphere is just one kind of extra element of this. What stinks, what is terrible, is that FIFA is closing the doors and putting up these giant barriers between the game that is supposed to be for the people. One that, and they talk about this. We are the custodians of the game. We're the ones that keep it going the way that it always has, and all this. And it's clearly out of step completely with the spirit of the sport to say, oh yeah, you want to go to a group stage game with the World Cup, not even between two of the powers. Well, you got to pay $500 for a decent ticket. Right. This is avarice on a level that is difficult to understand. Difficult to, obviously we're all cynical now, so we do understand it. But what I'm saying is the problem obviously is that FIFA crossed over that event horizon into, we can get away with it. Johnny knows he can get away with it. And they're pointing out, even as they make these $60 seats available, this tiny amount of $60 seats available to supporters, they are pointing out that they have 20 million ticket requests since the draw happened. And it's or something, total since they've made tickets available. So, and maybe not all of those people are going to be willing to buy the tickets at the price that they are given in the random lottery and the draw and all these things that they're doing to distribute tickets. But I think enough will that FIFA's like, oh yeah, we can just keep doing this and get away with it. No one's going to stop us.
I think the concept of internationals following their team through the tournament might just be a thing of the past too, because I think that maybe if you are able to spring for one game, making it the whole way seems unrealistic. I've definitely seen supporters groups in the UK saying, like, if I was to follow England from the group games all the way through the final, it would cost, half the price of my house.
Yeah.
And that's just not realistic. And I saw, I think the manager for the Scottish national team saying, like, we love your support, but please don't financially ruin yourself.
Well, okay,
to come and do this.
Here's a question. Okay, yes, absolutely don't financially ruin yourself to follow your team at the World Cup. The people, and I have people that text us on the radio show that say, I'm all in. This guy, Tony in New York, he's a Portugal fan, and he's dropping $13,000 on a package, not on hotel rooms, by the way, not on the travel. This is just the ticket package. He's dropping $13,000. Now he's going extra level. Like, he's not going just, I'm going to get in the stadium. He's going for, what do they call that? There's a hospitality package, right? He's doing that. And that's not where most people would be, even if they considered these prices. These are still hard prices to stomach, and they're not spending $13,000 if they buy tickets for all the group stage games for their team. But do we look at Tony and say, man, okay, if you've got it, go for it. Spend the money, follow your team, have a once in a lifetime experience. For him, this is essentially like a couple years worth of vacations, right?
Yeah.
To do a thing once he's never going to be able to do again, which is follow his team around the United States of America and be in hospitality settings in every stadium he goes to. On the other hand, he's enabling FIFA. He's the one who makes it so FIFA says we can keep getting away with this. We can keep raising prices. We can come to the United States and just take full advantage of all these people who are willing to pay this because they're never going to get a chance again to see it. And in this case, maybe we need to tell the campaign needs to be, hey, don't give FIFA your money. They will never learn if you keep giving them your money, $13,000 or otherwise. You're not helping. And I don't know how to feel about that because I don't want to begrudge any fan an opportunity to see their team, Rob. That's what this is about. But when FIFA is extorting money from Americans and from people who are willing to come here and spend money on this tournament, it only makes it so it's likely it's going to happen again.
Yeah, some interesting notes in the chat about whether to spend that or to boycott. And if this World Cup, everyone throws in the money and enables FIFA to keep on charging this much, what is the future of the tournament? If they, I mean, they're not going to have like a less income next time, will they? I mean, if they, I'm just making up a number. If they make $1 billion in 2026, what does the tournament in 2030? Like, capitalism, nothing. They don't want numbers going down.
Right. This is the psychology of more money, right? And you look at, not to make this a class warfare conversation, but you look at people who have $1 billion or, more money than they could ever possibly spend. And yet they consistently act in ways to either protect that money from, say, taxes or to get more money. And everybody who doesn't have that money, it's like, what the hell is going on here? Why you don't need more? What are you doing? But it comes back to, it's easy to call it greed. And I think it is greed, but it's a certain kind of greed that clicks in. Its number go up. It's what you're talking about, Rob. Once you start to see the numbers go up, you will never stomach the number going down. It doesn't matter how big the number gets. And Gianni Infantino is not the guy making all this money. I mean, he's making money. Don't think he's not making money. And he's all living on the largesse of FIFA's coffers. He's using the money from FIFA to live the lifestyle he wants. But essentially, that's what this is. He's in charge of an organization where number has gone up. And yeah, when is he going to look at this and go, you know what we should do for the next World Cup? All the tickets are like $15 because that'll be the People's World Cup. Now, from a PR perspective, it would be genius, but he'll never do it because that means number goes down and they cannot stomach number going down.
No, it just never can. And that's the best way to put it is number go up is just the way the cookie crumbles. And, what's the way to fight back for that? I mean, people are in the comments are saying boycotting and whatnot, but I don't think that's going to happen because people don't want to miss this, once every 4 years event and once in a lifetime for domestic fans here. It really puts us in a bind as soccer loving people. We are having to do such crazy mental gymnastics to still be appreciators. Because I remember in Brazil, when that World Cup started and there was lots of controversies on misspending there. And that was the first time when I was like, I shouldn't watch this, but myself, I watched it. I
mean, they cleared the favelas. There was lots of things that went bad, that were bad. That left you with a bad taste. And it's been, it's been every World Cup since then, right? It's been Brazil with that, obviously Russia and that relationship with Putin. And then, we have Qatar, and now we're here in the United States of America, and it's definitely not any better, right? It's actually probably worse in a lot of ways. And look, I definitely think that, and I'm going to watch the World Cup. Right. And I'm not going to judge anybody else who does. But I understand why somebody would say I'm walking away from this part of the game. Like I'm choosing to turn my back on that version of soccer. Now, you shouldn't have to. It's unfair to you. You shouldn't have to make this choice. It is being forced upon you, and it's not your doing, and I'm sorry about that. But obviously, whether it's paying attention to some other version of the game in another country or really jumping into lower division soccer in the United States, if you can make your peace with what MLS is in relation to this, fine, do that. I mean, obviously there are other, we're all doing mental gymnastics around the people that control the game. We're always having to figure out how to reconcile how the game operates with our fandom. And I'm not going to tell anybody how to feel about this, but I completely understand you if you're like, I'm not doing this, I'm not engaging with this. I'm going to go watch my local USL 2 team or my USL 1 team or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's a good point. And you hit it on the head. And Soccer Night in Detroit, $50 ticket for the World Cup in the Silverdome in 1994, equivalent to a VIP ticket at Keyworth, which is Detroit City FC's current home. And I was going to add to that, USL marketeers, I think that you should have a field day with this, talking about, if you can't afford to go to the World Cup, we have this game, your town represented in this game at an affordable price. Come check out what's in your backyard. I think should be a focal point of ticket sales at that level of the game, and especially for those operating through this tournament. But I think that about does it for today's live show. Big thanks to Pilkman for coming, our newest MK Ultra, and shout out to Luke Zagorski, as always, throwing in $5 to the pot also today.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, guys. Thank you to all the Ultras. Become an Ultra, join the community, be part of what we're building here at Morning Kickaround. And lots of things to come in 2026. Very excited.
All right, guys, we will be back on Friday. Until then, everybody, please enjoy your soccer.